Former Nevada Senator Harry Reid says he's proud to have played a part in authorizing a secret Pentagon study of UFOs, a study that helped bring videos like this to light.
Well, we can say for sure that Harry Reid's interest in UFOs dates back at least to 1989, because that's when my own conversation on that subject began. In the years since, he has quietly collected more information, met with scientists, intelligence officials, and other experts, and finally helped authorize a study that was carried out by a company created by a Las Vegas billionaire.
Because officially, the U.S. government stopped collecting information about UFOs in 1969 when the Air Force canceled Project Blue Book. But in the decades since, pilots and others continued to encounter technology that is beyond anything known on Earth.
If China, Russia, Japan, other countries are doing this, and we're not, something's wrong. He said, because if the technology we have, the way these things are described and the way people see them, if this movement took place in anything we have now available to us, it would kill everybody. They couldn't withstand those G-forces. Something's sitting there and boom, down it goes.
Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid's interest in UFOs extends back to the 1980s. It was rekindled in the 90s when Reid spoke to Senator and former astronaut John Glenn about unknown aerial objects. Reid eventually met in a secure room in the U.S. Capitol to ask Senators Daniel Inouye and Ted Stevens if they would authorize funds for a quiet but serious study of UFOs. Both agreed.
Are you glad the story's out?
Yeah, I'm very glad, because now we have scientific evidence.
Reid says he's proud to have had a hand in kickstarting the Pentagon study, and contrary to some media reports, the information collected was impressive, he says.
For nearly the last decade, I ran a sensitive aerospace threat identification program focusing on unidentified aerial technologies. It was in this position I learned that the phenomena is indeed real.
Until 3 months ago, Luis Elizondo worked directly for the Secretary of Defense and was the Pentagon's point man for collection of data about mysterious encounters. When he announced in October he'd been in charge of a 10-year UFO study, the news was largely ignored by mainstream media. Now it has blossomed into a huge story, in part because Reid acknowledges his own role in getting the funds approved.
Even though this was a secure program, we wanted to make sure that people couldn't complain that it was some sweetheart deal. No, put out to bid.
The contract was posted for months. The winning bid came from Las Vegas space entrepreneur Robert Bigelow, a billionaire who has funded his own UFO studies for years. Bigelow built secure facilities inside his aerospace company. At its peak, the study had 46 scientists working at the Nevada facility, writing reports and analyzing data that came in from the military. Rapid response teams were dispatched to the scene of UFO events. Over the 5 years, the project cost a total of $22 million. It wasn't a moneymaker for Bigelow.
But I'm sure one reason it helped is he gave the best cost because he was willing to build the infrastructure. He did everything on his own because he liked the subject.
In some news stories about the UFO study, anonymous staffers say Reid stopped supporting the study because it produced no solid information.
Well, of course, Reid didn't kill the program. I wish it were still going.
So why did the study end? Reid and others involved in the project say one factor is that intelligence officials were petrified that someone would find out about it and it would end up on the front page of a newspaper. That cat is definitely out of the bag. And there were other officials who had religious objections.
I was flying, and there was an object next to me. I could not get rid of that. I couldn't. I slowed up, it would be there. I speed up, it would be there. I would dive, it would be there. He said, I called, nothing on radar.
The story told to Harry Reid came from Republican Senator Ted Stevens, whose experience as a World War II bomber pilot was shared during a closed-door meeting at the U.S. Capitol. Reid says that meeting in 2007 led to the funding for a clandestine study of UFOs. Reid had been approached by an unnamed intelligence official who felt the topic deserved study because of decades of spooky encounters between the U.S. military and unknown aerial objects, like this one off the California coast in 2004. UFOs as big as airliners played cat and mouse with the USS Nimitz carrier group several times over a 3-week period. This object, shaped like a giant tic-tac, performed seemingly impossible maneuvers.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
Another video recorded by military pilots caught glimpses of what aviators said was a fleet of unknown aircraft.
But are outmatched by a technology they've never seen. Clearly, this is not an experimental U.S. aircraft. But whose is it? How did it accomplish these feats?
News of the encounter was first unveiled back in October during the launch of a public benefit corporation called To the Stars Academy. The bigger story was missed, namely that the video had been analyzed in the study initiated by Senator Reid. Results from the study have not been made public. Reid says the program cast a wide net and included incidents with clear national security implications, such as chilling reports in which UFOs hovered over American nuclear missile bases, as portrayed in this documentary, UFOs and Nukes.
But it's all in documents. Scores and scores of mostly men up there would come out and look up there. Oh, I don't know what that is. And they wouldn't leave. The communications in the missile defense installation was shut down. Didn't happen once, more than once.
Reid says the study also investigated reports of USOs, unidentified craft detected underwater, and it incorporated the UFO files of several other nations which have been more open about the issue. One aim of the study was to find out the origin of the craft. Intelligence officials ruled out the Russians or Chinese, but Reid says our adversaries are likely ahead of us in trying to duplicate this far superior technology.
Did you get any indication from people like the man you're talking about or others in the intelligence community or defense that Russia and China are looking at this stuff, are studying it?
The answer is yes.
Las Vegas businessman Robert Bigelow, whose aerospace facility housed the UFO study team, says he signed a strict non-disclosure agreement and cannot discuss the findings. Reid said the study produced voluminous reports, but was canceled because of fears within the intelligence community. Fear not only that the story would leak out, but fear based on religious beliefs of those who felt UFOs might be satanic.
Did you ever hear that? Opposition that maybe this is something evil.
Yes. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people who didn't like it for a number of reasons. And religious, not affiliation, religious views of people didn't fit what they wanted to spend money on.
Persons familiar with the 5-year study told us the effort resulted in 36 thick reports, some of them several hundred pages in length, as well as another 36 or so technical reports which projected how this kind of exotic technology might usher in a new era of aviation and what that might mean.
This picturesque ranch in northeastern Utah, long considered a hotbed of UFO sightings and other unexplained phenomena, played a pivotal role in the creation of the once secret Pentagon study of unknown aerial objects. In the mid-90s, Las Vegas billionaire Robert Bigelow bought the property and sent in his research team, the National Institute for Discovery Science, to study the ranch and the larger Uinta Basin. Over the next 10 years, NID scientists had dramatic encounters with the unknown, including daylight mutilations of livestock, mysterious aircraft, and discarnate entities.
But this is a lot more than a UFO story, as you learn.
This is a performance of anomalies that go back many, many years.
Our 2007 conversation with Bob Bigelow never aired, but he told us then that his NIDS team experienced more than 100 baffling encounters, though they had no idea what was behind them.
That we no longer have to worry about aliens coming and taking people away. That's for somebody else to talk about.
When Senator Reid and colleagues authorized funding for a Pentagon study, they made a point of saying this was not a search for little green men. The primary aim was to identify, analyze, and eventually duplicate the otherworldly technology that had been demonstrated in multiple dramatic encounters involving the U.S. military.
The phenomena is indeed real.
The man who ran the Pentagon study, Lou Elizondo, resigned in October and has since said the technology of these craft is beyond anything known on Earth, but he declines to guess where it originates. No one involved wants to mention space aliens for obvious reasons.
I'm not into that. I don't know anything about that. All I do know is that I am interested in science. What is going on in our world.
Investigating the source of the UFOs is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Although Bob Bigelow dissolved his NIDS team and ended the study of the Utah ranch, in 2007, a book about the property caught the attention of the DIA and Senator Reid. Bigelow's previous experience in putting together a team to investigate weird phenomena was likely a factor in the decision to award him the contract to study UFOs. And sources familiar with the study say Pentagon investigators returned to the Utah ranch several times during a 3-year period. When the New York Times broke its story, it reported that Bigelow built a special secure facility at his aerospace plant to store unknown materials supposedly obtained during the UFO study.
I don't know anything about exotic materials. I don't know. But, you know, there's been a lot of talk about that. But
what he does know is that the explosion of news coverage about the UFO issue has caught the attention of Congress.
They call it black money for a reason.
Reid's phone started ringing immediately, he says. People from Congress and the business community who've always been interested in the subject but were afraid to admit it. Reid thinks the time may be right to relaunch a formal inquiry.
Is this an appropriate topic for a congressional hearing of some sort? Would that be useful?
Yeah, yes, George. Now it's out. Why shouldn't they do this? You know, you take one airplane. You could want the cost of one military aircraft. Pick the cheapest one they have. Cheapest one. Give that money to this research. It's more important than that one airplane. We have enough bombs and bullets to take care of us for a long time, but we don't have enough scientific information to help my children, my grandchildren understand the future. He doesn't know anything about science. Well, I'm doing it out of sheer curiosity.
Harry Reid's interest in UFOs dates back 30 years, but he kept it quiet until December 2017, when the New York Times reported about ATIP, a secret Pentagon study of UFOs and related phenomena, initiated by Reid and 2 other senators. Documents related to ATIP and its offshoot, OSAP, do not mention UFOs, ETs, or little green men, and Reid has been careful to avoid the tabloid slant.
You've used that quote about you're not sure that there are little green men. You don't necessarily believe in that. We don't know. Fact is, we don't know what it is, right? Or where they're from.
We do not know. What I have learned is you cannot just hide your head and say these things aren't happening. We have military installations where hundreds and hundreds of people who are there see these things.
Dramatic military episodes involving highly advanced but unknown intruders, such as a fleet of so-called gimbal craft in 2015, or the 2004 incursions by large Tic Tacs, more than justify an ongoing study, Reid says.
And as I said, it's a worldwide phenomenon, not just here in the United States. There are certain places we really don't understand why, that there's more occurrences and have been over a long, long time.
The study based in Las Vegas explored topics far beyond the nuts and bolts of flying saucers. Physicist Dr. Hal Puthoff assigned 38 topics to academics and experts, tasking the authors to project to the year 2050 and speculate on what our cutting-edge technology might become. UFOs, whatever they are, have already demonstrated some of what is possible. In July 2018, the I-Team first released the list of those papers. 2 weeks ago, the DIA confirmed the list when it released a letter from the late Senator John McCain, who'd requested all available materials from ATIP for his Armed Services Committee. Reid and McCain were from different parties, but were close.
Sure, John knew what I was doing. I mean, he didn't hide the fact that he was interested also. That's why he wrote the letter.
Media critics have griped the papers explored fringe science. That was the assignment, according to Dr. Puthoff. One publication explores invisibility cloaking, craft that are not only invisible to radar, but actually invisible. That research has reportedly been underway at Nevada's Area 51 in recent years. Another paper by a UNLV engineer explored how to detect and track hypersonic objects, things that traverse Earth's atmosphere at incredible speeds, similar to hypersonic missiles that Russia's military now claims to possess.
The detection system would tell us about UFOs, but it could also tell us about Russian missiles that might be coming our way. I mean, there's practical benefits to these kinds of studies.
Of course.
One of the papers on the ATIP list focused on metamaterials, exotic compounds that could explain the physics of UFOs. Since ATIP ended, private groups, such as the To the Stars Academy, have scoured the planet seeking bits and pieces of supposed wreckage for testing. Former Pentagon intelligence officer Lou Elizondo is spearheading that effort. In 2009, Senator Reid tried to turn ATIP into a special access program, in part so it might gain access to evidence that has not yet been made public.
It suggests that maybe there are other studies or programs that might shed light on this mystery?
Other programs that have been done and information they have, including different pieces of evidence. We as a country are certainly not doing what we should do. This is an area that is important to not only our country but to the world. And I know that other countries are doing more than we're doing. And I think that that's not good.
There are those who think we're on the edge of disclosure, that any day now they're going to open up the doors and show us the saucers or open the files. I'm not as encouraged. What about you?
Well, I don't think I'm even close to that. I think before we get to that, I think we need to do a little work. And we're not doing enough scientific research. And there are people hungry to do that. We have academics who are trained in all the sciences. A grant to a college would be a tremendous help. They could put it out to bid, like they do, find out who would do the best job. But the way it is now, we're doing nothing.
You've said about you don't think it's little green men, and we had a lot of speculation about where these vehicles are from. They're far more advanced than anything known to us. Is it possible that there's no one who knows the ultimate answer, what the truth is?
I think now, and the reason I'm so terribly interested in this, is I don't think no one has the answers. And that is too bad, because there are answers out there, but we're not going to get answers just by hoping they come. It can have to take some work.
The idea of disclosure, have you had conversations with colleagues about the wisdom of letting all this loose? Is the public ready for it? Depends on what it is, I guess.
I don't think that Congress can make this decision on their own. They could try to pass a law, but that would create a lot more problems than it would solve, because there's a big public debate on this. I don't think at this stage would do a lot of good. Pentagon needs to get somebody within the Pentagon that's willing to do something that's a little different.